Okay, I think I've got everything ready. Here we go. Music is something that we hear every day in many forms. Whether it's playing in the background while you're cooking or cleaning, or it's used in the media we watch or consume, music is an integral part of our culture and of our entertainment. Its influence is seen all around us in our everyday lives, and its influence on writing is extremely profound. This is Kat the Crow-Winged Author here at the Magic Library, and today we are going to be talking about music and its influence on writing. So I've actually talked about music before in some of my videos where I was talking about my writing process and also in how stories are told. In my writing process, I rely heavily on music when I'm writing to get myself in the mood of certain scenes or characters that I'm working with. And I am not the only one who does this. It is very common to see several different types of creators, whether they are writers, artists, screenwriters, etc., to use music to enhance their creativity and immerse themselves into the world that they're creating. It's a trend with some authors to make a playlist for the book that they're writing and add it into the book on a page before the beginning of the story. This playlist feature helps to really outline the tone and aesthetics of the story being told. And I will get onto this example later on in the video. The list of examples of music being used in the media we consume and how it affects us is rather extensive. There's the music in video game boss battles that ramps up your adrenaline and that basically gets you excited and keeps you on your feet. In visual media such as TV shows and movies, there are certain song choices that can accentuate the relationship between two or more characters and their interaction. Even something as simple as background music can heavily influence how a scene feels in whatever media that you consume. Music has such a profound influence on stories and how they're told, and also how stories are made. So, in this video, we're going to be talking about some examples of how music influences writing and storytelling. We'll be, of course, talking about background music, WIP playlists, and how music affects us as human beings, not just as creators. So, first, let's talk about background music. You cannot get away from background music and how it tells a story. Like I mentioned before, the song choice can affect how a scene is perceived. For example, say you're writing a scene where a character is writing a letter. It's a simple task, but what exactly is being written? Who's the recipient of said letter? Depending on the music, it can greatly influence how this simple task is changed. You wouldn't write a love letter to epic battle music where your adrenaline is ramped up, and you definitely wouldn't write a declaration of war while listening to a love song. This is the very example of mixed messages. In the movie Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies, the music being played while Elizabeth reads the letter from Mr. Darcy is soft, orchestral, and it swells with emotion. Also, quick side note, it is very weird how we never learned this man's first name, like it's barely even ever mentioned. I had to look it up. What kind of man named their child Fitzwilliam? Just name him William like a normal person. You don't need the Fitz in front of it. But that's beside the point. Let's get back on topic. The music choice basically tells you how Liz is feeling as she reads the letter, and it's basically him confessing his love for her. Honestly, as a hopeless romantic, I would cry if someone wrote to me and told me that they loved me, that the way Mr. Darcy did to Liz in the movie. Go and watch Pride and Prejudice and Zombies if you haven't. It's a wonderful adaptation of Jane Austen's original novel. And go watch the version with Keira Knightley playing the part of Elizabeth Bennet. It's such a good movie. And I just realized that she can't get away from characters named Elizabeth. How weird is that? Literally, if you look it up, I think Keira Knightley has done 2 or more characters that are named Elizabeth. It is weird. Another example of how music is used to really enhance a scene is the music in the first Avengers movie where the camera pans around the group as they get in a battle formation. That music is epic. You feel like, okay, now we definitely stand a chance against this alien army led by a man who's basically lied to his whole life and just wants to know what he's owed. A little bit of a disclaimer for a good chunk of my fandom life, I was a huge Loki stan. Where are all my Loki girls at? And Loki guys too, I don't discriminate. And of course, you know me and my aesthetic. I'm not going to talk about music without talking about the music in Lord of the Rings. I literally can't not talk about it. The whole soundtrack for the trilogy is full of adventurous themes, playful tunes that accentuate the normal peaceful lives of the hobbits, epic battle scenes like in Moria and in Helm's Deep, and the music that makes your heart swell with inspiration and hope. Peter Jackson's work in where the movie came into play, wink wink, and in directing the movies and everything will forever make The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit the best examples of excellent music choice. And I even use some of my favorite music from the soundtrack in my own playlists, which brings me to the next topic in this video. If you've been on my channel before, you know I love talking about my many playlists for all of my WIPs. That's works in progress if you didn't already know. Also, I'm not exaggerating with how many playlists I have for my writing projects. I have 30 of them. Having a playlist for your project is rather helpful, and depending on the genre, you can fill the list with music that appeals to that aesthetic that you're going for. While I was working on Arboriah Lux, I had a lot of dark academia music which incorporated a lot of violin, piano, and cello music. There was also the opening theme to the Game of Thrones, which was the perfect theme for Silas and the introduction to the Watchkeepers. And if I'm being honest, the theme is mostly for Silas now that I think about it, just because it shows that there's, like inner turmoil going on in himself, sort of like in Westeros and Game of Thrones, but that's beside the point. I will get to an analysis of Game of Thrones and everything I'll do it in a later video. Also, while writing the book, I watched Interview with a Vampire and Crimson Peak on repeat. The aesthetics and the storytelling were similar to what I thought of for Arboriah Lux. And like I said before, I'll get into how watching movies affects your writing in another video. So when making a playlist for a writing project, think about the genre and the aesthetics that you're going for. Find songs or music that fit that criteria and add them to the list. And if you're anything like me, you'll listen to that playlist even when you're not writing, just to get your brain in the story and let it run on autopilot. This is a habit mostly for discovery writers, and I've talked about discovery writing in another video. I'll probably go over it again in another one. Nowadays, authors will post playlists dedicated to their stories on Spotify or SoundCloud. Actually, does anybody use SoundCloud anymore? Let me know down in the comments. They do this to let their readers enjoy a new level of immersion when it comes to storytelling. Some authors include a page with a list of song names and artists in the book for the reader to look up and listen to pretty much get the aesthetics. The music helps us immerse ourselves into the story on a level deeper than before, and that brings us to the final topic of the video. All of this brings us to emotions, how music makes us feel. I've said it a few times in this video, but it's still worth repeating. Music helps us get into the mindset of the story and of certain characters that we're working with. Music is meant to make us feel. The tempo, the lyrics, if any, and instruments are all used to illustrate emotions and the depth of those emotions. When you read, you step into another world and you follow the characters, and when you have that movie running in your head, in our imaginations, it sometimes isn't complete without music to fully get us into the action. Music has a profound effect on how stories are told, and I didn't even get into all of the examples I wanted to. Like how musicals incorporate music to make an audience feel inspired and follow along with the characters in the story. Or how sometimes even the lack of music can amp up the adrenaline and anticipation because that mood is accentuated more by the incredibly specific detail of the surrounding environment. However you use it, music is essential to how a story is told, whether you're watching it on the big screen, or if you're like me and you stay at home curled up in a blanket and a snack watching The Boys until 2 in the morning. Yes, guilty. I love Carl Urban. Or you're reading a book that comes with a list to listen to. Music connects people through emotion, and stories connect people through experience and imagination. And that's pretty much what storytelling is, if you think about it. Storytelling is something that connects us through all aspects of life. It connects us through emotions, specifically with the music choices that we use, and it connects people through basically adventure. I cannot say this enough, music is essential, and I will not take any besmirchment of any music used in media. Well, that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching all the way till the end. You guys are troopers. Well done for sticking with it. If you guys are interested in any of my books that I have published, I have links for them down in the description below. If you like paranormal dark fantasy set in an alternate version of Earth with vampires, murder, mystery, some sensually emotional romance, and a villain inspired by Jack the Ripper, you might enjoy Arboriah Lux. The sequel trilogy Seraphim is the modern-day sequel that follows the descendants of the original cast, and the third book in the trilogy, Seraphim Requiem, will be dropping on June 20th of this year. So I invite you to read up on Arboriah Lux and Seraphim Awakening and Seraphim Bloodlines to see where the story started and the epic conclusion of a prophecy that was generations in the making. I'm still working on the details for the writing workshop I'm trying to set up in my hometown. If you know, you know. If you're interested in those details, I'll be posting details on my socials in the description below. And also, if you are a writer and you are needing a proofreader or an editor, I have affordable packages and rates that are also listed in all of my socials. All of those socials are linked in the description. So please go and follow me on all of those. And for those of you worried about TikTok, I am trying to also get on RedNote. But I'm slowly but surely trying to get back into doing social media and everything. Oh God, I am so behind. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. This is Kat the Crow-Winged Author here at the Magic Library, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.